Hi, everyone, and welcome to Crushing Doubts Q&A every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. It's good to be here with you again. As always, we're here every week, and we're answering questions about, or at least I'm answering questions about mind-body experience. You guys are welcome to answer questions as well. I really like to think that you're getting to a place where you can do it. The audience really is growing more and more sophisticated, and it's a great pleasure. In the mind-body field, there's a lot of people who understand this stuff, and they say, I've got my PhD in Sarno and all that stuff. And they've gone through so many different mind-body experiences. And so I really am trying to bring something different to the table here, where you guys can learn new things and learn an organized system that brings it all together. So as always, I do have the usual announcements. My next seminar does start next Monday. So when I'm here next week for the Q&A, we will have started. And you can sign up at www.crushingdoubt.org. This is your chance to get all of your mind-body world questions answered. And what I mean by that is I explain why I like my system, and not just why I like it, but why I like it to answer all those questions and stop with all of the information that you have to get from everywhere. It can be very overwhelming, the amount of information that you need, and it can sometimes be overwhelming that you can't get the information that you need, and the seminars really solve both problems at once. They describe the whole system, taking all three columns, the emotions, doubt, and power columns, explain what they are, how to work with them, but we also look at the whole mind-body field and how it's all fitting together. So we've got a couple people to say hello to. We've got people who joined right on time today, huh? We've got Scotty Stiles, Juicing Happy, Catherine Toomer. Scotty Stiles says hello directly. Good to see you. Wish I could sleep. All right. We'll talk about insomnia, clearly. And Scotty Stiles says just on time. Aha. Jasper Hitchcock, good to see you. How to heal chronic pain. By the way, this is all on Instagram. Catherine Toomer says, hi, Dr. Dan. How to heal chronic pain says, woohoo, hello. It's Scotty here. Good to see you. And put pain in the past. Hi, Dan. That's Rita. Good to see you. Okay, now that's my Instagram hellos. Now I got to get to the YouTube hellos. Talia says hi again. I just saw her in the groups. Good to see you. Amrit, good to see you. She says, hi, Dr. Ratner. So glad to come back to reality. Can't wait for the seminar. Very excited about that too, Amrit. Can't wait for you to join me. Okay, Talia said on YouTube, I realized after our session this morning, she's in Australia, that I have another thread in the core narrative that I have not been explicit about. A long thread with multiple posts. So I'm going to read this loud to you guys and we will follow the narrative, okay? She says, I have the sense that I have been treated unfairly and I still carry this with me, that people and events are unfair to me. I'm not sure how to gain power over these beliefs. I wish the seminars were later in the day for me. All right, we'll work on that, Talia. We'll work on a time. Maybe we can make it work somehow. I don't know what time that is for you, but it can't be good. It's in Australia. In Australia, that's not going to be good. I also carry the feeling that I'm missing out on stuff, that other people have things that I don't, or they get stuff meant for me, including people, friends, romantic relationships. I can easily see how this happened from childhood events. Okay, now this is a long thread, Talia, but keep it coming. I hope you guys are following me. She says examples. My father promised me my first car if I got better than 500 in the exams, which was highly unlikely, but I did and waited patiently for the car. Finally, he bought a cute car, but I never got it. Oh, New Zealand, sorry, not Australia. My bad, Talia. Instead, he gave it to my stepmother and he never bought me a car. I'm sorry, I just have to pause here because, come on. Talia, I'm so sorry that this happened to you, but I hear stories like this so often, and it's really, it's upsetting for us all because you all have been through so many kinds of things. Hi, Carrie. Good to see you. She's saying hello from Instagram. So we've heard these kind of stories, and there's such gross mistreatment, and they're very gaslighty. Everybody now knows that term at this point pretty much, but it's when somebody's giving you a sense that something else is happening than what is really happening, and they make you doubt your reality. That is not cool. So he promised to help me with the deposit. This is Talia's story still. He promised to help me with the deposit for my first home. Never happened, but he helped my stepsister financially. A couple of years ago, he told me that my stepsister gets the lion's share of his money in the will, even though I am his only biological daughter. Wow, Talia. He couldn't see how that is unfair. He definitely sees it, Talia. He just he's gaslighting you. And we talked about how bad your mom treated you, but now we got your dad on top of it, and I'm so sorry. Themes of favoritism continue with my mother. She would close the door to her room and try on clothes to show my childhood best friend and literally shut me out. All horrific. Years later, when I called him on the broken promises, my father gaslighted me. Well, okay. We hit on that theme already. He said that it was all in the past and not important now, and I should let it go. That's right. As if you are the problem. Guys, I want to be very, very clear about this. You all have been mistreated by a bunch of narcissists in general. There's a lot of narcissists out there, and they do horrible things. They say horrible things. They make you think all kinds of things that are not fair. And this is what happened to you, Talia, and we'll keep getting you to that point that you're working towards in the power column to know how ridiculous this all is. Talia said, ridiculously common, and they don't realize the impact on us. It's true. He is making excuses. I haven't even got to the worst of my mother. So I totally believe you, Talia. But if we look at the sum total of this, and this isn't just for Talia, this is also for all of you. Talia is a person whose reality was challenged, and all these horrible narratives were brought to her, including narratives. Talia, I'm going to share just a little bit. I won't get into many personal details of things you shared me, but just to orient people, I know you were given the sense that you were the bad guy when really these things were happening to you. And we need to get you a lot of relief. We should talk, because the seminars can be really organizing and helpful, and they'll extend what we can do in the groups. So let's talk about that. But everybody out there, the resources that I have going that I think are really working particularly well. I've got the seminars, which bring together all of mind-body experience and help you understand how to navigate it and kind of get the full information you need. But then the group memberships continue that. You can sign up for those as well on our Crushing Doubt website, www.crushingdoubt.org. If you have questions about either, contact me at dan@crushingdoubt.org, and we can talk about it. But these are resources that allow you to continue going through the moments and figuring out how you're going to handle things in the moment with respect to the columns. Okay, we have a question from Scotty on how to heal chronic pain on Instagram. He says, any updates on how your book is coming along? I'm enthusiastic for its release. Okay, so I meant to update you on that. Thank you for the question, Scotty. I finished the rough draft at the end of December, and I've been doing the editing, and I've been telling people this. I can't just turn it over to an editor yet, because if I do, there's no editor that's going to say, hey, Dan, you forgot this part of your theory. And that's because nobody knows my theory except for me. You guys might be able to edit it for me, but editors will not. So I need to make sure everything's in there. I'd rather it be in there twice than not in there at all. So I'm just combing through to make sure everything is in it, and it's taking some time. That being said, I'm done with now close to 13 out of 17 chapters. So we're really getting there. And then I will send it to an editor to start working at things. And we're hoping to get the book out to you in April. It's possible it's going to end up in May, but I'm really, really pushing for it. So I'll keep you posted. Okay, some other comments from YouTube. Let's see. Sylvia Sierra was clapping. That might have been for being here or something Talia said, but thank you for supporting us. Nonetheless, Sylvia, and good to see you. Okay, Bob is smiling at us. Good to see you, Bob. Okay, Karen Isaac said, I haven't been able to sit in Indian style for 12 years. Hip pain and replacement. Shoulders and hip dislocations. Last night, I listened to the Heal podcast. I tried sitting in Indian. I sat in Indian style. This made me so happy. These kinds of things, we shouldn't underplay how important they are. This is a moment where, Karen, you were able to break through in the doubt column. I just recently was working with somebody who was having trouble bending over fully. She has gotten past almost everything else, but not that. And getting past that, helping her to feel not afraid to do it, it helped her to get to a place where not only could she do that, but it takes a wrecking ball to doubt when you do that. This is really big. So congratulations, Karen. You keep up the good work and just keep us posted. Okay, now, Sylvia, you did have a question or a comment here. Also, I had a series of great dreams last night where did I miss something? Because you said also, I just want to make sure you didn't say something before. Okay, good. You said, oh, no, you did. Okay. here's where it started. When pain is low but lingering, is that doubt? I've had some good success lately resolving a bad attack, but the pain tends to just switch sides or linger in a lower version. Doubt column? Okay, now there's a second part of this question, and let's keep this all up there. Also, I had a series of great dreams last night where I was standing up for myself, being powerful, stating my needs, and really prioritizing them in a much deeper way. It gave me a lot of hope. This is exciting. Now, I want to say something about dreams, and then I'll jump back to the lingering or low hum of symptoms. Dreams are a way of us trying on what we want or what we think are possible. When you start having good dreams, it's a good sign. It is a sign of things to come. When you're working towards the power column, it's not bad if you're not having the good dreams. But if you're starting to have good dreams, it's a sign that you are becoming more aligned with yourself. The things that you want are present in your dreams. Dreams are wishes. And I'm sure there's lots of people who are like, wait, I have bad dreams. Those aren't my wishes. Those aren't your wishes, but they're kind of your warped wishes expressed in the limitations that your power column currently presents if you're not feeling powerful. So Sylvia, this is a very good sign. You're headed towards this, and it's going to make your fight against doubt, whenever there is doubt, be something that you're going to wage more in the power column. And now this gets me back to the first part of your question. So when pain is kind of low but lingering, that's where I discovered the power column, in those plateaus. So I would say you're actually starting to move out of doubt. This is where doubt starts to morph into power column work. You've done a lot of the doubt column work. You've got it in a really good spot. It's going to try to fight back at times, probably, although you've already beaten it back several times. Now you're going to start having those dreams, those good dreams in your dream life, but probably in your waking life too. And you're going to start to actually live powerfully. And I'm really excited to see it. So, Sylvia, really, there are very few signs that are better than the ones you've given. Your pain is relatively low. It's lingering, which is that plateau power column kind of thing. And your dreams are echoing this too. They're all showing that you are in your power column work. So this is very, very good. I'm glad to see it. Okay, Molly Miniatures is here. She says, oops, I'm late. LOL, not late. You're right on time. Whenever you want to get here. Okay. Talia said, you're not late. I'm a fast typer from years of playing the piano. That's true. Talia, you were a fast typer. You put in a lot there. Now, Talia said, I have no idea how to take my power back from feelings of unfairness, gaslighting, and feeling I don't get what I deserve or what is rightfully mine. That includes people, both parents unavailable to me, and it continues with many of my relationships. The membership group is very helpful. I would do it more days, but only Monday fits my time zone. Okay, well, we'll work on the timing again, Talia, but here's a way to think about it if you're feeling like, oh my God, there's all this unfairness and gaslighting and not getting what's rightfully mine. How am I possibly going to make this work? Any task you have, break it down. Break it down into little parts. So one of the two main, well, let me say this. The two main tasks of the power column are, one, compare the current moment with your core narrative and figure out, am I moving towards that third sentence of how to live differently, or am I living in the same old way? That's one thing. The other is to assess yourself for power with yourself, others, and your symptoms in any moment. And that's what I want you to do, Talia. You don't have to overturn this whole system at once. I mean, the system meaning, I should be careful with my words because I talk about the system and the column system. What I mean is your system of thinking up to this point has had a lot of that gaslighting and bad feeling and all that stuff in it. You're not going to overturn it right away or all at once, but it's going to go a lot faster than you think, especially if you break it down into its parts. So what I want you to do is to just look at maybe one dynamic where you didn't feel powerful and ask yourself this question. What's the powerful move here? That's the number one power column action step. What's the powerful move here? Ask yourself that and see what comes up. But I am glad the membership group is helpful so far, and we're going to keep it up. So what I see more and more is as people work with my system, everything starts to move towards the power column. It starts off with doubt being the dominant factor, but as we start to master doubt, then you start to get a handle on using the emotions to manage acute symptoms. You've gotten past some of your chronic symptoms if you've broken down enough. And then eventually it all leads to, okay, am I going to be able to be powerful or not? All right, we are going to get to some questions from Instagram. Carrie said, I've been reading Recovering from CPTSD, Complex Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder by Pete Walker. Have you read this book? I have actually not. I should look it up. I'm a few chapters in, and his advice sounds similar to some of your action steps. That's interesting and also encouraging, because I built the power column and my interventions there based on my own experience dealing with trauma. And I didn't even have a therapist to help me with that, because at the time I had very little trauma-informed therapy. And that's a problem. I highly recommend, if you're going to get therapy, make sure they understand just talk to them about the term trauma-informed. If they don't know what that is, I really would suggest moving to someone else. You need somebody who understands that trauma can be very activating in the body. It can be a thing that makes you feel incredibly unsafe, which makes doing therapy kind of hard to do if you're not feeling safe. So find somebody who's trauma-informed. The fact that that book is kind of lining up with what I'm saying without my having read that is encouraging. So I will check it out. Carrie did add, the only card people have to play with me is you are the bad guy. And I agree. So this was in relation to what we were saying about Talia. I often see the truth in what I did and how it's impacted them and feel like, yeah, I'm selfish and okay, I'll give up what I do, I think. I'll give up what I'm doing to prevent you from feeling that way. Where does negotiation fit in, or what do you do? Okay. So as always, one of the reasons I love the Q&A and the membership groups and the seminars for that matter, anything that allows me to interact with all of you, I can answer one person's question, but the nice thing is it answers questions for lots of people. You guys do a wonderful job of bringing questions. A lot of my system is built on the questions that I brought and you brought. So here's another good one. Essentially what Carrie's asking, and Carrie, you can clarify if I have this wrong, but I think what she's talking about is when you're trying to negotiate power, and actually I don't want to use the word negotiate there because that's later in the question. When you're trying to figure out power and whether you're in power, is it okay essentially to negotiate with other people? And here's what I would say to that. I don't want you guys negotiating with anyone else. What I want you to do is to come up with your own stance before you even enter the field with them. You want to decide, well, what do I need? What are my needs? And how do I do something that's powerful? Once you know that, then you're set to go talk to them, because then you know where you stand. Otherwise, you can get into a situation where they can manipulate you very easily because you don't know exactly where you stand. And many of you, if not all of you, are goodists who they can twist around. I mean, this is a compliment, by the way, everybody. It's my favorite kind of people. I'm one of them. I'm not saying this because I love me only, but I do like people who are good to other people and more likely to get manipulated, certainly, than to manipulate. But you want to be looking towards what your own experience is and be clear on it so that you won't get manipulated. This is part of what the power column is. So when I hear about Sylvia having these kinds of dreams, I used to have dreams where I was getting manipulated. Now I don't. Now I have dreams where I feel in control. My dreams are starting to express what's happening in my waking life. And that's really what we want to see. So, Carrie, I would say, this is a funny way of putting it, we don't negotiate with terrorists. And narcissists are terrorists. And people who gaslight us are terrorists. We're not going to go ahead. I see, Sylvia. That was a wave, not a clap. Okay. Well, hello. So I don't want you negotiating. We want to get you to a point where you feel in power with yourself, where you feel at peace with yourself. There was a question that I had. I can't remember where it was asked, but somebody was asked. I was on the Facebook group. Somebody was asking me, might have even been you, Talia, if forgiveness is necessary to get better. And I have a different take on it than some other people. People are very big on forgiveness. I'm not saying forgiveness is bad, But I will say this, forgiveness is not necessary. What is necessary is a subset of what happens with forgiveness, which is peace with the self. So I'm not saying forgiveness is bad, but I would say move in that direction, especially if it's going to bring you peace with yourself. Sometimes peace with yourself will not come with forgiveness. Sometimes it will come with, that was unforgivable and I will never forgive. But I'm not going to let it eat me up inside. I'm going to put that somewhere. I'm going to channel my aggression, that sort of thing. So whatever you need to do to find that you can get to power and peace with yourself, that's what's needed. Forgiveness is not inherently the thing. It could be good, but not if it gets in the way of your sense of peace. Carrie said, yep, I have constant dreams of being out of power. I used to all the time now as well, Carrie. I never do anymore. I live in the power column and my dreams reflect it. And that's what's going to happen for you. We'll keep working at it. Okay, Sylvia said, so sorry, Talia. My parents did horrible things to me too, and I'm living with the consequences of their abuse and neglect hanging there. Sylvia, I'm so sorry that you've had that as well. So many of us have in this community, and we're here to support each other. Amrit said, I trust to Talia, I trust you will get the support you need in this group. Surviving being a source of narcissistic supply is so bad. You're here, and it's a good start. Thanks for cheering her on, Amrit. I know you know what you're talking about. Okay. Molly Miniature says, crisscross applesauce is the newish term for Indian style, LOL. It's true. That is the updated version. All right. We're getting lots of thank yous with each other. Okay. Molly says, my tongue is burning again, but I do not care. Just acting as though it is just a sensation to not even care about. So Molly, though, you don't have to sit with that for too long. If we need to work on it, we can get back to, all right, how did doubt kind of climb back in there? Was there an emotional thing? Just use the columns and we can get you back to not having that. Molly said, I've been having some crazy dreams lately, like cray-cray. LOL. All right. Well, Molly said, I've been having dreams about my exes. Now, those are called nightmares. Yeah, there can be a lot of bad dreams out there, but I think the power column is a way to feel better in waking life and while you're sleeping. And I just want to encourage you guys, keep working at these columns. If you can reduce doubt, you shouldn't have anything chronic. If you can understand your emotions column themes, you can control the acute things. And if you're living in the power column and you're doing the powerful things and they're aligned with your core narrative and aligned with yourself, you're going to be not only a lot happier, but a lot safer and more relaxed. So let's keep at it. Bob says, I've been looking at cognitive distortions and they seem to play a role for me, especially with doubt. For me, some days doubt wins when I fight. Then I fight when I feel better the next day. So that's a good point, Bob, and thank you for sharing that. There are going to be days where we all have cognitive distortions. Now, that is when we're thinking about things in a way that's not really correct. Happens to me all the time. It happens to everybody all the time. It's one of the reasons that I talk about moment-to-moment experience. I know that's been helpful for you, Bob. I know it's been very helpful for a lot of people. We're never stuck in the same place. And that's good news and bad. Well, it's good that we're not stuck, but it's good news and bad news, because if we're happy, we're not going to stay in that spot. That doesn't mean we can't stay happy. We're not going to stay in the same spot. Life is continuing to evolve, and I like to have a handle on it. And I find that the columns have given me much more of a handle than therapy ever did. In therapy, and I'm not saying this to denigrate therapy. There's a lot of useful therapy, especially if it's trauma-informed. But I found that just wasn't helpful enough getting into the moments. It wasn't specific enough. And whether it's the seminars or the groups or my book or whatever resources, my resources are all about moment-to-moment experience. People sometimes ask me, well, what's the rule for this? And I wish I could tell you something different, but it's more important to have a set of rules that you can use, because your moments are always going to be different. So one moment, it's about this. Another moment, it's about that. The columns give you guides as to when to do things. The symptoms give you guides as to how to understand them. The action steps give you some suggestions about what you can do. And you pick your system. You build your system within my system. So let's keep working at it. All right, Talia said, thanks for breaking it down, comparing it to where I am versus the core narrative. Okay, my pleasure. That's a part of how my system works. It is designed to get more specific and get you answers. Xyloterra, I see you have joined us on Instagram. Good to see you there. Okay, there is a question from Facebook. Let's see. Wolf Bowden, good to see you here, Wolf. Hello, Dan. Can you help crush this one? This thought/doubt. If pushing myself into pain and ignoring it was part of the reason my brain learned pain, then how can graded exposure make it better? In other words, I'm doubting the potential of graded exposure if exposure was how I developed sensitization. Okay, this is a great question for multiple reasons, but one of the reasons that I like it is that it calls into question something that happens in CBT about exposure therapy. I've wondered this myself with respect to my phobia. I was like, I'm not going to go to a treatment that is going to make me expose myself to something that will just scare me. Well, here's the difference. If the exposure sends you into a lack of safety and it sends you back into trauma, it's not going to help you. It's going to make it worse. It absolutely is. There, I would focus more on your thinking rather than the exposure. So there's a couple things I want to say. Let me back up for a second. Learned pain. This is, I don't know, Wolf, if this is fitting with what you, kind of what you're thinking about, but there's a lot of talk in the mind-body field about neural pathways. Neural pathways are real things. They are these pathways that develop in the brain and in the neurons, the neural pathways. And they're real, but the thing is, they're just responding to what you know, how you think, what you've learned. The minute you learn something new, they change. So you don't necessarily even need graded exposure. The reason that you would need graded exposure if you're going to do exposure at all is that it could be overwhelming. What I find is it's better to get a handle on the overall understanding of things and have a system down before you go ahead and take actions that expose you to what I call triggers. I say this a lot. Go to your triggers last. First, get your columns in order. Think about how you're going to deal with them. So I would say this, I don't know if this is a doubt, Wolf, or not. It's certainly a thought. But I think there is doubt there because it's a question. Questions are doubt too. So I would say, don't worry so much about this. Focus on the system at large and how it works. You will get to the point where it's time for exposure or mastering a trigger, but don't rush yourself to it. That's usually the thing that you get to last. Wolf, let me know if that's helpful for you. Okay. Tusif, good to see you here again. I have tongue burning too, crazy dreams too, being chased. Okay, your dreams will start to change when your power starts to change. Tongue burning is a specific symptom, and we can figure out what's happening there. And that is something that we can do through analyzing the columns. If it's a chronic or as I call it, consistently acute condition, then we want to think about it in terms of the doubt column. If it's acute and just comes on for a little bit of time, then we want to look at the emotions column. So let me know if you need help with that, Tusif, and I will certainly get to that. Talia says, I'm putting this in caps in my notes. What's the powerful move here? Yes, it's a huge, huge question. I would say it is the number one action step question of the power column. What's the powerful move here? Whereas the number one, the top two main interventions that I give to people is that one assumption, you make sense and your symptoms make sense. And the question is how? And then the other is moment-to-moment thinking. Think about your experience in the moment and what's happening with that, because that is going to be very, very key to understanding these symptoms. Okay, Talia says, hugs to Molly. I don't usually dream about real events. Take care. Okay, so more often than not, it's really the tone of the dream that is determining whether you're in power. A lot of times dreams can be very fanciful and crazy, as mine often are, but it's really about are you feeling powerful or not? Okay, Catherine Toomer, good to see you here. She says, my plantar fasciitis and restless legs are both at that place of low and less frequent, but not gone. The plantar fasciitis hardly bothers me, even when the pain is high. So why is it still there? Okay, well, that's interesting. Catherine, I would actually probably need to know more. I'd need to ask some questions to find out why it is still there. But what we can do is follow the rules of the columns. Okay, so The fact that it hardly bothers you even when the pain is higher, to me, suggests we've gotten rid of so much doubt there that the only thing that is left is the emotions column with plantar fasciitis. So if you want to get rid of that more, I guess this does relate to your question. So why is it still there even before I've asked questions? The emotions column is active there. If you've reduced doubt and it's not really bothering you, then that means there's an emotions column thing happening there. And I think I said this last week. The most intense symptoms of all are emotions column symptoms. Doubt can lead to some really nasty, difficult symptoms and ones that last. So that's particularly upsetting. But if they're very severe, it tends to be emotions column based. So Catherine, that's where I'd be looking right there. With respect to the when plantar fasciitis is kind of low and less frequent, but not totally gone, or the restless legs, I would look at the power column then. But we've clearly done some really good work in the doubt column, and I'm glad to hear it. Okay, Sylvia said, Dan, you should definitely read that CPTSD book by Pete Walker. It's excellent. So I will check that out. And I see Donna Jackson Nakazawa's books are also being noted. I have read one of her books, and I think they're great. Sylvia said, Talia, I definitely have a long history of those kinds of dreams, nightmares too. So many of us do in this kind of community. When you have trauma, that's how your dreams tend to be. That's another reason dreams shifting, Sylvia, can be such a great thing. So that's great. Talia says, we don't negotiate with terrorists. Love it. Yes, that was me. Yep, I felt the same thing. Molly says, I feel forgiveness is fake and not necessary in my opinion. Listen, there's many different opinions on it, but I'm very inclined to agree with that. I think most of the time forgiveness is talked about in it's almost talked about in a judgmental way. It often paints people into a corner. So I don't want you to feel that you have to forgive. Many of these people, they didn't ask for forgiveness. They don't deserve that forgiveness. And I'm not meaning to be vicious, malicious, or vindictive. But at the same time, this is really, you got one life here. And you're going to, at least I think, I don't know, hopefully there's more. But you are worth it to go out and live a good life. And Talia said, peace is the goal, which is what I said to her. Forgiveness is hard to separate from condoning behavior for which you have not received an apology or acknowledgement. So that's another thing. If somebody has apologized and acknowledged, given a good apology, I usually will forgive if it's in my power to do so. If they've done something that I can't forgive, I don't need to judge myself for that. I mostly need to get to peace about it. Does that mean I'm going to go be horrible to that person? No. There are many times where people who I haven't forgiven come back and they give a half-hearted apology, and I don't hold their feet to the fire because I don't like that about me. I wouldn't like that for me. I don't want to feel that way about me. So peace is the goal with yourself, whether it's forgiveness or not. But I do have to say, I generally agree with Molly there that forgiveness is often talked about in a fake and judgmental sort of way. It's absolutely not necessary, but peace with the self is. Okay, Catherine has some follow-ups here. My guess is that certain emotions come up and trigger me regarding the core narrative. Also, I have guilt and ambivalence over lots of things, even guilt over my ambivalence. Isn't it amazing how talented we are in our minds, the things we can do? I do think I need to make my yes a yes and my no a no, which is to say stand on my own 2 feet. Plantar fasciitis there, which may be to say end plantar fasciitis and restless legs. Yeah. I mean, look, our symptoms are expressing metaphors. They know, we know what's going on with us, and our bodies often express it. It's not always the case that the body is expressing, the nature of the symptom, because it can relate to a trigger or it can relate to, a certain vulnerability that we just carry with us. But there are plenty of times where the symptom is expressing something meaningful that we can take away. And so, Catherine, as I said, I would look in the emotions column when it is severe, but the rest of the time I want you looking in the power column. Now, she then said, but that would mean I have to be perfect to remove the pain. Hold on a second. I do think I need to make a yes, and my no, a no, but that would mean I have to be perfect to remove the pain. That cannot be right. So maybe just to be more aware and less afraid of my guilt and ambivalence. What do you think? So, Catherine, I would say that we can do a lot more than you think when it comes to getting to peace about this. The way you're imagining this is telling me, and I hope you don't mind me saying this is designed to help you, and it's designed to help everybody who's hearing this question. But I think you're boxing yourself in without realizing it. And that box is not one of your own making. It's been handed to you. But you think that essentially you've got guilt and ambivalence that's not resolvable. Well, in the power column, the core narrative and figuring out which moves are powerful and how to get back into power, they actually do bring peace, actual peace, where you wouldn't even be guilty and you wouldn't even be ambivalent. And I know that sounds like a lofty goal, but I've experienced it myself and it was a big change. So, Catherine, I don't know if you'd want to do this, but I would totally suggest the seminars and the groups as a way to further that if you want. They are, I think, quite cost effective for what you're getting. The groups especially are incredibly cost effective, and you could just drop in and hear about the moment to moment experience. They do tend to work better when you've done the seminar, so highly recommend that as well. Not trying to push that on anybody, but they're really great options. But Catherine, I think there's a little bit of pushing back against doubt where it's boxing you in, and I can help with that. Hope that's helpful. Okay, Tusif said, I think forgiveness is a fancy word. You can't fully forgive. You still have that desire for revenge or hate towards that person. Tusif, I agree. I think that it's hard to get to that place. And it tends to run into the kind of buzzsaw that society sets up for us of an expectation that we're supposed to forgive, and then we feel guilty and bad about ourselves when we can't. Nobody forgives unless somebody's actually apologetic, and sometimes not even then. So just things to think about. This is a great discussion about that. Tusif said, Molly said, Tusif, for me, what helps is to detach, but not to forgive. I found that too. But listen, there's multiple recipes for success. So I think you want to find what works for you. To me, the column system, great for multiple reasons, but one of them is it gives you 3 different ways to think about things and address them. And so sometimes you're going to detach. Maybe you'll detach and people won't even know that you have detached. I've done that many times. Sorry, guys, whoever is out there that I detached from, but you don't even know. It's all stuff that goes on within me. Other times I make it very clear about that detachment. Or sometimes I go in a different direction than detachment. I say, you know what, I'm actually going to fight this. I'm going to kind of fight for the relationship and see. Or sometimes I'll just kind of lay it out there and say, you're not getting forgiven because you haven't even asked. So whatever I do, I focus on how's this going to make me feel about me? Is this a powerful move for me? Is this good for me? Okay, we have a question coming in from Facebook. Ryan Edson says, as a high school substitute teacher, I had to leave 3 classes through cow eyeball dissections. Wow. I could have turned the assignment down, but I didn't want to do it out of fear. Anyway, it went well, but honestly, I was grossed out and felt angry and had symptoms because I had to be professional and had to let it go. Trying to find the power move, say no or build resilience. Okay, so fantastic question because it's so varied. So here's what I'd say, Ryan. There's many ways to be powerful here. One would be, no, I am going to turn it down. Another would be to go ahead and run the class, but say, I don't have to get deep into this. I didn't sign up for this, okay? I will manage the class and I'll do the bare minimum. Maybe that's okay. I don't have the answer for you, but I have the same question that, I gave to, that I was giving to Talia. The question of what's the powerful move here? And I know that's what you're asking, but actually ask yourself that question because you're the one who has the knowledge of the answer of what's powerful for you. Turning it down could be something. Deciding that you're going to go and not really even think about it, not kind of overly sink into it. Maybe that's the powerful move. There's many ways to go about this, Ryan. So I think what I hear in your question, say no or build resilience, it feels to me like you're locked into something that's not great for you either way. That if you say no, you'll feel like you ran away. But if you build resilience, you feel like you're forcing yourself to do something. I want you to find a more powerful move that doesn't feel bad. Even if you don't like it, Like it could be, all right, this is the powerful move. I'm going to do this, but I'm going to hate it. And I'm going to say I hate it. And I'm going to say to the students, guys, you do this. I don't want to. You only have to dissect it once. I have to lead this 3 times. Find some way to make it powerful for you. And I want to do a follow-up with this, Ryan, because there's more to this. But let me know how that sits with you, and we'll kind of take it from there. Okay, got a couple more questions coming in. Let's see. Molly says, I think the emotions column must be all that is left for me with the burning mouth syndrome. That sounds right. You know, there may be a little bit of doubt that creeps in when it stays, but I'd be focused on the emotions column. Okay, Catherine says, yes, I think it is emotions. The question had 2 more parts. Okay, let's see. Did I miss that? 2 more parts. I think I covered them, Catherine, but tell me if I didn't. Okay, Bob said, any more 4-part consults in the future? I get so much from them. Yes, they will be coming. I do want to say this, guys. We have been very slow on getting our podcasts out there of late. And it's just because we've been dealing with a lot of internal stuff building towards the future, especially with this new network that we will be on other than the Q&As. So we are kind of building towards that. I believe we are releasing a new episode today, and we're going to start releasing them a lot more. So they're coming, and that includes the 4-parters. Okay, Simchad 613 says, I forgave everyone. Well, listen, forgiveness can be a great thing. It depends on the person. It's just like what I said to Ryan. Find the powerful move for you. Find the peace for you. Molly says peace is one thing, forgiveness is another. I agree with that, but everybody's got to decide that for themselves. Catherine said, yes, I already covered the question. It's good. Let's see. Talia said to Catherine, I think we are far too good at blaming and judging ourselves. Yes, this community does that all the time. I love you for it, but I don't love it for you, as I often say. Talia says, interesting that the body expresses itself in metaphors as I am cold all the time. Yeah, you didn't get the warmth you needed. That's exactly it. And I can literally never warm my chest heart area 24/7 for around 15 years. It makes a lot of sense to me, Talia. All right. Tusif is saying so many symptoms match here. I think you're talking about the burning mouth with Molly. So certainly feel free to connect, guys, and talk to each other here. Okay, we've got Scotty saying something on Instagram that I want to get to, and then I'm going to get to a couple more YouTube, and we'll wrap up there. But Scotty said, plantar fasciitis can mean so many things metaphorically, not putting your best foot forward, standing on your own 2 feet, putting your foot down and standing up for yourself. Plantar fasciitis is a cruel symptom, but definitely TMS, and I completely agree every time. Thanks, Dan, for giving me the confidence to challenge it. Beautiful. Now, let's just say this about what Scotty said. Look at all those metaphors. Even just what he said, they're all... Why do we have all these metaphors in our language? The reason we have it is because unconsciously, we know exactly what's going on. We know we've got mind-body symptoms a lot. And what Scotty just listed here was very helpful for that. Okay, Brian Garza, good to see you here. He said, do I have to remove myself from stressful living conditions in order to get better? Nope. I had the same question for Eric Sherman when I went to see him. I was very worried about that because I had some stressful situations that I didn't want to remove myself from. And I was worried about that. The reality is you don't. When it comes to stress, there's the stress that the external world brings to us. And then there's the stress that we feel inside because we're not at peace. The columns can help you feel at peace inside. And that means that stress from the outside is largely irrelevant to symptoms. So very good news with that, I would think, Brian, but let me know. Then he said, my full body nerve pain is getting better, but recent stress caused it to go to my teeth and sometimes my whole mouth. I also have a CPTSD, so I have to address a wound. I have to address a wound, a wound up nervous system. Sorry, I read it as wound, wound up nervous system. Will the cycle end? So Brian, yes, it can. It can. I've said this many times. The antidote to fear is information. So you just need the right information. I can get that to you. And I encourage you to contact me, dan@crushing.org. Let's talk about maybe a seminar, the group memberships, or at least my mind-body guides on the website, which you can get at www.crushing.org. These are all great resources to get you the information. And I've tried to design it so I get it to you fast, effectively, and it doesn't take forever. So Brian, this can be mastered, absolutely, but you need the right information. Please let me know how I can be of help, or come back next week and let's keep talking about it. Okay, Catherine Toomer says, very, 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 very helpful. Thank you. If I can only do one or the other given funds, should I do the seminar or the groups? Okay, Catherine, I would say I'll probably need to just email with you a little bit about it to assess that. But for everybody who's watching, here's the way to think about it. The seminars give you the full information. It's almost like if I put my book into a spoken form to give you all of the information you need, that's the seminars. And then you have that, but you're going to need to work at it. The groups are so cost effective, I think you'd probably be able to do it, actually. I don't know if you know what they are, but I can talk to you about it. But in terms of if I had to pick one for you specifically, it seems that you've got the basic gist of the system, but you need moment-to-moment help. That's more the groups. So the groups are actually a kind of low-cost way to check it out. You can come and just have these discussions. They're a little bit like this, but they're very specific to the moments, much more attention to the individual person about it, and we really learn from each other in that way. So I would probably look in that direction, Catherine, but email me, dan@crushingdoubt.org, and we can discuss it. Talia says that makes sense on judging ourselves, on not forgiving as if we are the bad person for not letting them off the hook, which is how I see it. Yep. I see them as not being held to account for their actions. So I have an action step that is put the blame where it belongs. And I have another action step, black and white thinking, instead of the shades of gray that's often out there in psychology. I like to give permission to people to not judge themselves for not forgiving the people who abuse them. You don't have to do that. That's not fair. And even if you were going to do that, you probably need some time with it. Time actually empathizing with yourself. Catherine said, Bob and Dan, I also get so much from the 4-part consults. Great. Well, they'll continue to come. So we'll keep that going. Ron, good to see you here. Ron says, forgiveness has to come from a position of power. If you have it, power, you can forgive easily. You're so right, Ron. That's a beautiful observation. If not, don't try it. Forgiving. I couldn't have said it better myself, Ron. Thank you for weighing in on that. All right. Talia says, I hope you will also continue to post on YouTube when you shift platforms. I love YouTube and I have premium, so it's the easiest way for me to watch, listen. Well, these Q&As are always going to be on YouTube. All of the old videos are going to be on YouTube as well, and we may post on YouTube at times as well. Ryan asked on Facebook, do you have any groups available 4 p.m. or later Pacific time? Unfortunately, I don't. That would be 7 p.m. my time, so it doesn't work. But Ryan, send me an email, dan@crushingdoubt.org, and we'll see if there's other ways that we can help you. I have lots of systems and setups. I've even trained other people. So if we need to get you set up with somebody who can help with the system, we can find a way. Don't give up just based on scheduling. Let's find a really good way to help you around that. Tusif says to Ron, that sounds a bit satisfying. And I think it absolutely is. Great point. And then Ron says, forgiveness is for oneself, not to help others. And so that's true. But echoing Ron's point, if you're in power, you're going to be much more likely to be able to do that. Tally asked, will your book be in audio format as well as text? It will be. Absolutely. I'm going to read it myself. So as soon as I finish the edit and we get onto the publishing side of things, I will get set up with that so that people can have that as well. Brenda Fisher says, what about anxiety? So Brenda, we might have to talk more about the specifics if you have more specifics about it. But I think what you're asking, hopefully I'm right, is does anxiety fit into this whole mold of mind-body symptoms? And it really does. First of all, there's physicalized anxiety that's very like that. And we are going to wrap up on this for today. But there's physicalized anxiety that behaves just like other symptoms. But I like to think of everything as a symptom. Anxiety is a symptom. Depression is a symptom. Not being able to concentrate is a symptom. Insomnia is obviously a symptom. Any kind of pain-related things are symptoms. Illnesses that aren't related to a medical condition, those are symptoms. All kinds of GI things are symptoms. You name it, it's there. But I really do like to include anxiety, depression, even if you just have like a feeling that something's not right, like a feeling something's off, those kind of feelings, they're mind-body symptoms. Try to think about them that way. Brenda, I hope that's helpful. Guys, I hope all of these answers have been helpful to you. It's been a pleasure as always. I will see you next week at the same time at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. And I will be here week after week answering these questions. I love to see how sophisticated it's getting, how much help people are getting. I'm getting lots of good feedback that it's working for people. Do not be discouraged if it's not working for you yet. That's doubt trying to get you. Don't get fooled by it. I'm here to help. Okay, thanks, everybody. I will see you next week. Take care.